And how about acoustics?
Well, acoustic is an interesting one because it's we wanted the idea of a circular theater works really well for all the reason I just told you, meaning that it was working really well from the outside, but once inside the building, you don't really want a circular theater from acoustic perspective. So, because the sound's all trying to focus in one point, which is what the acoustic consultant hates. And what you don't want in any case.
We do hate that.
I know it very well. So we had to play with the finishes of the wall and with the shape of the walls to actually avoid this concave nature of the building. In fact, it's difficult to tell because the ground floor back wall is painted black, so you kind of don't read the geometry, but it's not circular. It is in a scalloped shape that scatters the sound, while the top circular wall is micro-perforated with absorption behind. So in reality, both the circular walls that you see, ground floor and top floor, they are actually not simple concave surfaces, but at the top floor it's an absorptive surface, while at the ground floor, at the stalls, it's all scallops to scatter the sound.
Micro-perforated, what's the exact material?
It's not micro-perforated, it's perforated. Perforated. It's perforated plywood with an acoustic absorptive backing. Yeah.
Okay. And this is what we see at the first floor, top floor over there.
Yes. It is not fully perforated. I guess the first 1.2 meters is solid, simply because you would have people leaning against it during performance and during assembly, where you have in fact standing audience at the back, and so we wanted that to be as solid, as sturdy as possible. Perforating it was probably weaken it. So, and on more, if you realize it also looking at it from here, the first meter or so, it's not really visible from here. So also from the acoustic perspective, you have seats in front of it, while the upper part would have been the problematic part, and that is perforated.
And had you always thought of doing those profiles as well on the side walls that you can see behind me and on the balustrades? Or did they come later?
No, that came...
There's a contrast. So you could have carried that on all the way around on the side walls, but you decided to just have it on these walls, these curved walls, that profile, timber profile.
Well, I have to say, these are not really the one at the circle level, but the stalls back wall went through so many iterations of material finishes. It had this shape at a certain point, but it was with higher spec finish. It was, I remember, at a certain point in a glossy plywood that was somehow dialoguing with the other plywood elements, but without replicating the actual pattern of them. Then there was a moment where it was made of timber slats with a sort of void behind. So you were reading timber slats with proper gaps in between every element, with a setback absorptive material. And then eventually we decided to kind of highlight the actual design elements of the auditorium. I think the process was once we had to edit out for value engineering purposes, which is not a bad thing. I have to say, sometimes, the forced editing out process that value engineering is sometimes end up to kind of, it helps bringing more clarity into the project. And
That's a nice way of saying it.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Because I agree, as designers, we don't like value engineering because we've got an initial design in mind, and we realize we get told off for it being too expensive. So we have to compromise somewhere.
And I think this is my way of dealing with it, trying to find a nice way to read it. So in trying to use it to bring more clarity, we said, okay, let's actually highlight the design elements of the room.
Yeah.
So we kept the side walls, also like to bring a bit of emphasis on the stage. We kept the balcony, and up to a certain point, we kept also the main reflector above the circle. If you see the main reflector, that's it is a freestanding object. It used to be up to quite late in the design process made following the same logic of the balcony front, but again it was edited out and I believe it's not bad. I mean, probably I'm looking for a nice way of reading the value engineering process, but it's probably, it's working out, and it's nice to see like the red seats that kind of ends the space, and then you don't kind of read the ceiling. It was like fade to black, literally.